Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I will oftentimes in videos that I'm filming think about another video idea and kind of put it out there to y'all and say, hey, if y'all want me to film so-and-so, let me know in the comments. The last time I did that on the topic that I'm going to be talking about today was the most amount of comments that I have ever gotten in response to me asking whether y'all wanted to see that video. And it is a blush as eyeshadow video. If you have been following my channel for any amount of time, I very often, at least 50% of the time, use blush in some form or fashion as an eyeshadow when I'm doing my makeup looks. It's something that I've done forever. I love it. It's a great way to tie in everything that's on your face using the same blush as you have on your cheeks. It's great to do while you're traveling because it's one less thing you have to worry about packing. I just love it. So I have picked out my top 7. I try to keep it to 5, but 7 blushes that I reach for the most when I'm using them as eyeshadow. And I will go ahead and say, not oftentimes, but sometimes you will see on packaging of blushes, do not use this around the eyes because of some certain ingredient that they have that could potentially irritate the eyes. I will go ahead and be completely honest with you and tell you that I don't ever pay attention to that. I'm not saying do as I do, but more like do as I say as far as checking that out. But I have also, to be fair, seen that same kind of notice on eyeshadow palettes, which are marketed to use on the eyes. So take it for what you will, but I did want to say that because it is on some products, and also because I knew somebody would just be like, well, you know, some blushes you're not supposed to use around your eyes. So do what you will with that information. But before I get into my favorites, I'm gonna show you how I apply blush as eyeshadow the most. Now, there's no rule for how you apply it. There's also only so many ways that you can do it. Oftentimes I will use it as a crease color, and I will either not put anything on the lids, or I will put my highlighter that I'm using on the lid or some other shadow that corresponds with the blush. Sometimes I will use regular eyeshadow on my upper lids, and I decide to tie in my blush color of the day as my lower eyeshadow where I smoke out my lower lash line. Sometimes I will deepen my outer V with it, especially if it's a darker shade. And then oftentimes I will do it like I'm going to show you in this video. And today I'm going to be using a blush that I have really been using a lot lately for this purpose, and it's by RMS Beauty, and it is their Redimension Hydra Powder Blushes, which are some of my favorites. When they first launched, I think last year, I just could not talk about them enough. I have 4 shades, and I really want a couple of the newer shades that came out, but the one that I'm gonna be using today is called Maiden's Blush, which is probably one of the more neutral shades that I'm going to be talking about today. The other ones lean either more pinky or more peachy. This is definitely in the middle. It's more of a bronzier shade, which means that it can easily be used no matter what lipstick you're wearing, what cheek color you're wearing. But because I do like to keep things kind of monochromatic when I'm using blush on my eyes, I do have this shade on my cheeks today as well. So what I've been doing lately is taking this blush. Now, if you really look at it, it may have a little bit of a rosy undertone, but it still leans more neutral. And this is a Refer number 1 brush. Something like this. I don't typically reach for like a crease brush for what I'm doing. This is kind of in between a crease and a lid brush. And I am basically going to be putting it all over my lid, up into my crease. And I like this brush because you can turn it on your side and it does become a good blending brush. You can see how nice and pigmented this is. I have worn it a lot this past week, and I tend to get compliments on my eyeshadow every time I do. In fact, I wore it at a wedding that I worked last week, and I was asking the mother of the groom, like, okay, what's your vision? What are you looking for? And she was like, I really like how your eyes are. Those look really nice, but it looks like you spent a lot of time on them. And I'm like, if you only knew, it's simply a blush. Because that's all it was. I think I may have smoked out like some brown shadow on the lash line, and that was it. So you can see how easy that was to apply, and then again, just kind of turn the brush on its side, blend up into the crease. Very pretty color. I love these blushes so much. And I'm not saying that you can't find an eyeshadow in this shade. The whole point of me using blushes on the eyes is that I don't have to worry about thinking about what eyeshadow I'm going to use. I don't have to get out another product. I know that it's going to look good and be easy to apply, and then it's gonna serve more than one purpose on my face. That is the point of me using blushes on the eyes. Not sure you can get much more simple than that. Sometimes I will maybe pick out another blush that is within the same color family, but maybe contrasts a little bit to give the eye, some contrast. But today I'm gonna use the same blush, and I'm gonna take the Rephr 14 and use that to smoke out my lower lash line. No, you don't have to do this. Yes, I basically do this anytime I have anything on my eye. Unless I am doing an extreme no makeup look, I am somehow smoking out my lower lash line simply because it's a comfort level for me. I do it all the time. I like the way it looks, but you don't have to. Now again, most of the time I will either leave it like this, stick some mascara on and go. I might smoke out some shadow on my lash line. And then sometimes I will take whatever highlight I use that day and pop just a little bit on the center of the lid. And I stuck with RMS and I used the Redimension Hydro Dew Luminizer in Prosecco Fizz as my highlight today. So I'm just gonna take that on my little pinky and just kind of pop that onto the center of the lid to give a little dimension, as the name of the highlight states. But again, I am not pulling out any products that I didn't already have out and use on my face. And that's it. I'll put on some mascara, which I'll do real quick. And I have a full look that I feel like, again, like the mother of the groom said, looked like it took a little bit more time and effort than it actually did. So I'm gonna do some mascara and we'll come back and I'll show you some other favorite blushes that I like to use for eyeshadow. All right, just like that. Eye makeup done. So we've already talked about the Maiden's blush from RMS. And let me go through a couple of more that I tend to reach for the most. I have to start out with probably the brand that started this all for me way back when in their previous blush formulation, and that would be Jane Iredale. I've done many videos on Jane Iredale blushes, and they recently, probably, was it last year or the year before? They reformulated and came out with new packaging of their blushes. Now, I love pretty much every shade that they have for not only blush, but also eyeshadow. But there are two that I reach for the absolute most. One of which, I mean, y'all probably have already guessed, is Sheer Honey. This is probably my favorite blush in general, and probably my favorite blush as eyeshadow as well. I have gone through two previous compacts of this specific shade. I have one in my kit that I use all of the time, and this is the one that I have in my personal collection that I reach for very often. Honestly, I think I'm about to hit pan, and this is just a very pretty, neutral leaning, warm, honey type shade. So that's it right there. This is a matte blush, no shimmer or sheen to it at all. This is beautiful in the crease, along with the Allure shadow, which I often use as highlight on the lid, and good to go. Very often will I take that traveling for my highlight, my blush, and my entire eye look. So that is Sheer Honey. And then the other shade from Jane Iredale is Flawless. Now this one looks to be more neutral in the pan. However, on my skin, when I put it on my eyes, it definitely leans more cool. And I think when you see it in comparison to the Sheer Honey, you're gonna see that. It does tend to pick up a little tinge of pink. That's it right there. So that is Flawless. Again, a matte blush. And my favorite combo to use this with is with the Glow Skin Beauty eyeshadow stick in Keepsake. So Flawless in the crease, Keepsake on the eye. I mean, honestly, I never regret doing that look when I have it on. It, for some reason, just really, really works. So that is Flawless from Jane Iredale. And then the newest blush to my collection that I have been using a lot for eyeshadow is the Dior Rosy Glow in one of their new edition colors of Rosewood. So this is it right here. This one is also matte, and definitely when you swatch it, especially against the previous two shades, you're gonna see is the coolest tone. Even though it looks a little coral in the pan, it comes off more of a pink on my skin. So that up there is rosewood. So you can see definitely more neutral, warm. You got a little bit more cool toned mauve-y in the Flawless. And then you come up here and you've got more of a pink in the rosewood. And again, all of these are matte, but very different from one another. All give different looks. I really like using this one the same way I used the Maiden's blush today, but I also love it in the crease, or I will find myself using totally different eyeshadows, and then I'll use this to kind of smoke out my lower lash line. Okay, 3 more. This is the blush that I used in the video where I asked, do you want me to film a favorite blushes for eyeshadow video? Because I had mentioned that I really like this formula and this color as eyeshadow. And it's the MAC Glow Play blush. And this is in the shade Grand. This is more of like a putty type texture. Some might say cream to powder. I mean, it's not a cream blush, but it's definitely not a full powder either. It just feels like that kind of, you can make an indentation in it type of putty. And this so far is the most coral of the bunch. And while it has a sheen that you can visibly see in the camera as you turn it back and forth, it does not have any sparkle or glitter or anything like that. So it can be used in the crease, at least for me. I mean, if you want to use a shimmer in the crease, that's fine. I like to use matte, and this can be used in the crease because it doesn't have that, you know, intense amount of sparkle, or any for that matter. So that is Grand. Another pink option, and this is pink, and I really like to wear this for, oh, I don't know, a pink look. Sometimes I start a sentence and I'm like, I have so much to say, and then I realize, no, I don't, I've already said it. So I like to use this pink blush when I want a pink look. And this is from Chantecaille, and it is in the shade Joy, which is the Wild Horse blush. You can barely see the horse because I use it so much. And again, this is a matte blush, and this is more of a Barbie cool toned pink. Compared to the Rosewood, which is a little bit more neutral, this is definitely cooler, and one that I reach for when I want a really pink look. So that is Joy from Chantecaille, which is the Wild Horse collection, or the Wild Horse foundation. And then finally, this is the only one in the collection that is actually marketed to use both on your, and then finally, this is the only one that I'm going to talk about in this video that is actually marketed to use for both blush and eyeshadow. And this is the Eye to Cheek Dual Use Blush and Shadow from Valentino Beauty. And this is in the shade number 8, which has a name. I'll put it on the screen. Roman Sky, I think is what it's called. But this is it right here. And again, it is marketed, which I absolutely love, to use on the cheeks and the eyes. This has a more, it's not as putty-like as the MAC blush, but it's definitely not full powder either. It has more of a different texture to it. This is described as light peachy pink with light reflecting pearls. I'm gonna tell you, I get absolutely A, no pink, and B, no light reflecting pearls, at least once I swatch it on the skin. So this is the Valentino right here. So hopefully it'll come across on the camera, but this is pink to me. This is not. This is definitely more of a peach coral shade, and it is very similar to the MAC Grand. The difference is it comes off a little more orangey to me. Like it has just a touch more of that coral pop to it. But hopefully you can see there's no light reflecting pearls in this. Not for me anyways. But that is the Eye to Cheek Valentino Beauty in number 8, Roman Sky. And that's it. That's the roundup of some of my very favorite blushes to use as eyeshadow, some examples of how I use it as eyeshadow. And I really suggest, if you have not tried this, to give it a go. Just randomly pick a color that you like to use as blush and try it out as eyeshadow. Here's the thing, y'all. Makeup is the least risky thing you will ever do in your life because it can be washed off. So if you don't like it, start over. but I think you might find some new favorites if you start doing this. Let me know if you have a favorite blush that you use as eyeshadow. I will have everything listed and linked down below per usual. Thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.